Welcome to a video from thedigital-lifestyle.com. This is my new set for the multiplayer. This is the PPG Collection, featuring 52 performances based on the legendary PPG Wave, that wavetable synth from the early 80s. What I've done with this set, there is 52 performances, 52 programs, and the original PPG wavetables. These are freely available on the internet, but what I've done, I've downloaded them all. I got them from the Wave Edit online, which I don't think is a source available anymore. But I've cleaned them up a bit and I've labelled them all based on what they should be. I've searched on the internet and find out what these should be and what they were originally called. One of the Waldorf plugins from a few years ago actually has them all nicely laid out in there as well, so I've based some of the information off that as well. There's a free version which is a cut down set, and then the full set as well. So what I'm going to do now in this video is demonstrate the sound. So PPG Wave used wavetables with going through analog filter. So it's like a traditional analog synth, but with, instead of oscillators, you have wavetables, and wavetables are cycles of waveforms. So you think your traditional sawtooth, triangle, and so on, but they were in a sequence, and then you could then manipulate that parameter and shift between that sequence, so you could go from one waveform to another smoothly. Some of the ways I've done these, some of these are smooth transitions, some of these use a harsher transition, some of these don't use any transitions at all. But you'll see from the sound, you hear from the sound, they give you that sort of digital sound, but with an analog sort of filter. So what I did when I was creating these, I created myself a template which I've included in the collection as well, and then I started creating the sounds. So most of these use two oscillators, and quite often what I do is one oscillator an octave apart or together with just to detune to give it that bigger sound. But this is a good example. A bit of a spiky bass on there, very digital sounding, using that clipper waveform, and one is an octave lower to give you a bass sound, but with the higher overtones. Here's one that uses actually 4 oscillators. To give you that bell sound, using the bell wavetable. And you'll notice what I've done as well on these ones here, I've got some modulation, so they're in 8-bit mode, and what that means is it's modifying the wavetable. So it's, I can show you on here. So that's with it out on, and if I put it to vintage 8, it just quantizes it effectively, so there's less steps to give it that sort of digital early 80s feel, because it introduces some harmonics. I don't know if this is probably the best example, but you'll hear some of the other bells. Let's see. There we go down to single bell. I turn that off. I turn it to 8-bit. You can start to hear them, especially up at the top. And you'll hear it in some of the others as well. Once you, the 8-bit really gives it that sort of vintage feel. So you probably hear some other examples of it as well. But there's high overtones that come out of it that which gives that sort of vintage feel. I called that one 80s soundtrack because I could picture it being used in a soundtrack. There's a bit of modulation on that one, as you can see. So we've got into some vocal sounds now. And there you can really hear it stepping through the wavetable. You can see it on there. And to achieve that effect, I've actually used the mod processor and quantized effectively that that pitch envelope. So it's the pitch envelope that introduces that step in to do the modulation or the positioning of the wavetable. But because it's quantized to 10 steps, you can hear it stepping through it, and there's big gaps. So that's what you get that effect. It's just using the pitch envelope, but quantized to give you that stepping. We've got a couple of basses now. A nice bit of filter effect going on there as well, because the PPG adds an analog filter. So we've got bass 2. Just a simpler bass on there. But with the morphing that really gives it this sort of movement. And I've also included a triangle, so I've gone beyond the PPG there, just added an extra oscillator in. So there you can hear the Bell wavetable, and in vintage 8-bit mode as well, just to give it extra, especially up here. You can hear those overtones. So sort of bell organ type sound in there. And then we've got a brass. And you can see here that I'm using actually using the Bell wavetables to get that effect, and again in 8-bit mode as well. That's the great thing about these wavetables is that yes, it's the Bell wavetable, but actually it sounds like a brass, so you can use it for what not really what it was intended for or what it was labeled as, but it sounds great. Here's one I've had a bit of fun with. This is using the Bell wavetables, and we've got some motion sequence here to get the sequence on it. This one's called Clipper. It's called Clipper because it's named after the wavetable. So it's a great wavetable. That pretty complex, as you can see when you look at that on there. The ones here you see based on a preset. These were based on a preset either from the original or from one of the plugins, created by ear, just using them as inspiration. So there you can hear the high overtones that kick in. And that's just from the wavetable mod being modded, that mallet wavetable. That's simple bass. Using that clipper one, it really cuts through. And again, I've added a sub oscillator effectively, that triangle one. Nice softer bell sound on there. And Dream. And you can control the speed of that through the mod control. So right at the top, it's going through that wavetable very slowly, and right at the bottom, it goes through so fast you can hardly hear it, but you know, you can have it just. It almost sounds like FM going through those tables like that. Some nice strings, some ensemble type strings. And this one is a ghost, local ghost. So we've got a delay LFO on there, but the vintage 8-bit mode is really helping with those, create those overtones. So without the 8-bit mode, you wouldn't get those harmonics in there. So there's a sort of a harsh bass sound with some motion sequencing. Similar harsh type sound, but without the sequencing. It almost sounds like it's a sample slowed down. Haunted vocals. So you can hear that second wavetable coming in. So this one is called Horizon. And you can hear it moving through the wavetable there. This one uses a key off technique. So I'm using the wavetable on key release. So this one's called O because it says O. Overtones pad because you've got some nice overtones in there. And a nice pad. And you can control the brightness. So this is one of the ones demonstrated at the beginning. You've probably heard of the bass certain part from this. So this one I did is an example of layering up the PPGs. So we've got 4 PPGs effectively, or 3 in a drum machine, all controllable through the knob control on here. So there's the bass you can hear there. And on the other layer, we've got the vocal. It's a vocal sound, but I'm actually using the electric piano wavetables. And then next one, we've got the drum pan. Not using any wavetables for this one. This is directly from the multi-polys own waveforms, but just to create that drum kit. And the final one is the bell. It's kind of almost a bit Pet Shop Boysy, and then of course you can just layer those together. Then we've got a PPG Piano. So that gives you sort of a piano sound. I did use one of the piano wavetables on these. Some of these, by the way, I've left as dynamic, so many polyphonies the system can handle. Some I did restrict to 8, just to get that more authentic feel. So a pitched envelope bell there. So one with quite a bit of movement there, and you hear those overtones, and that's caused by those vintage modes. We're using dual filters on this one. The PPG had single filter, but I've stretched that a little bit, and here I've got a dual filters in parallel mode. So I'm sending one oscillator through filter A and a SEM filter, and oscillator 2 is going through filter B, the multi-poly filter. Nice simple bass with an arpeggiator, but it's not really arpeggiated, it's just a sequence. And you can hear the filter kicking in and out. In fact, the filter's not being affected by that slow LFO, it's the morphing of the PWM wavetable that gives that effect. Here. Called this one Poland Split because it reminded me of Tangerine Dream Poland. So you've got that vocal layer on one side using electric piano wavetables, and the bass sound there using the square, and then there's this swell sound I've got isolated as well. It's on monophonic mode as well, so you get that slow envelope at the beginning, and then as you keep playing it legato style, you don't get the slow envelope. So this one is quite an interesting one. This is a ratcheting type one, another Tangerine Dream kind of inspired one. So I've done a separate video on how to do Berlin School ratcheting type sequences, and here you can see I'm using the shape lane to multi-trigger the one of the tracks or one of the parts with a low probability, so it doesn't do it all the time. So it skipped it then. And that's made up of the sweep sound and the hi-hats and a kick and snare. Those drum sounds, by the way, are from my analog drums set as well, which is a free set on the dislifestyle.com. Resonant bass. Resonant bell. I hear the overtones on that. I think that's a really good example of those 8-bit vintage wavetables causing those effects. Here's one called Seq Split. So you can hear they've got that sequence on one side and some bell sound on the other side. A short vocal. This is a short vocal. Again, you can hear those overtones. Almost Depeche Mode style. A nice slow brass sound. So they're not all harsh sounds because I'm making use of the filter there just to There's a nice sort of slow brass sound on there. Another slow one. And that's because it's sweeping through the resonant table very slowly, but it's bringing it in. So this is stack lead. This one is called stack lead. If you play it low as well, it sounds. Just using two oscillators on that one. Step sweep. And that one is sweeping through the wavetables, and the technique I used earlier where we're using the mod processor to quantize the pitch envelope to give us those stepping. So it's not using an LFO with a linear transition through. We're actually using the pitch envelope, but then quantize it so that pitch is stepping up, but we're not using it for pitch, we're using it to modulate the position. There's some strings, simple strings really. And then just a modification of that to keep it a bit lighter. So we've got the first one is a nice sort of simple synth string, and then the second one, the second oscillator is pitched an octave up. Which more reminds me of a sort of stringed ensemble type thing. So that's called Sunrise. And we've got a sync lead. We're not using the sync features on the multi-poly. We're using the sync wavetable, which is, as you step through it, it goes through the sync sort of effect. So that's why it's not as clean as doing it sort of with the normal way of doing sync. And I've got the crossfade set on the mod control. So when you turn it down, you can really hear it stepping through. And if you turn it up, it smooths that transition. Using 8-bit mode as well to give it that raw feel, and I've got a bit of detuning on there as well. So you can make it sound really gritty. So again, using the sync, but to give us a sweep, it's a nice slow sweep. Here's a template that I used as well. So it's just two oscillators. I've set all the effects that I want. I mainly use the compressor in the chorus and the two wavetables set up, and then that was the basis of all the sounds that I then created. This one is a tempo pad. Stretching the concept a bit, but that we're using 4 PPG sounds to do that. I can isolate those. So there you can hear the trigger one, which is just on the playing the chords, the ensemble strings, the bass. So I've got the 2 bell wavetables giving us those overtones, but then the classic saws from the multi-poly really giving it that depth. And then a bit of a ratchet pad effect as well. You can hear that ratcheting there. Not all the time because I've got a low probability on it, but when you put it together. So here's one called PPG Touch because I tried to make it as velocity sensitive as I could. So you've got some really nice control over it. So it's not really about the volume, it's about the timbre, the timbre that from the because I'm using the velocity to control the wavetable positioning. This one called Unfiltered because it's using the noisy wavetable, the clipper one, and I've turned the filters off, so you're hearing it without any flavouring of the filters. And then we've got the vocal. And as I mentioned earlier on, it uses the electric piano wavetable to do that. So these wavetables aren't all about, they're not samples, they are digitally generated wavetables that then you can either choose a position, a fixed position, or you can modulate it, and that's how you can get those effects. So that's all the performances. The programs are all individual programs as well, so you can combine them into your own performances, and the wavetables are in there as well, which are all neatly labelled as well. So I hope you enjoy that set, available from meticulously.com. Link in the video descriptions. Please like the video if you do, and subscribe if you like these kind of videos. Let me know if there's any others you want to hear, other sound sets, other tutorials. I love doing these for the multi-poly, mod wave, wave state. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.